Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2018 Subaru Outback, we're going to be checking out the Swagman XC2 platform style bike rack. So first impressions of the rack on the back of our Subaru. I think it's going to be a super simple and economical way to carry around a couple of bikes. You know, this rack can hold up to 2. And one of the things that I like about it is the fact that it's really basic. Okay, it's super straightforward. So if you're someone that is looking for a rack that doesn't have all these extras and all these bells and whistles, you know, this is definitely one to consider. It does a real good job and it's really popular, and I can see why. With that said, the way it's going to hold our bike down is primarily here at the frame hook. All right, and this is going to put downward pressure on the bike, which will force the wheels into these hoops here. And it does a pretty good job, actually. I mean, the bike's pretty secure, believe it or not. There's some movement in the rack itself, but you know, that's normal. The bike's not going anywhere. I will say though, if you're someone that happens to have a carbon frame bicycle, probably you want to take a look at another one. You really don't want, you know, frame contact on those carbon bikes because it could potentially damage them and everything else. So any other material, you're in good shape. With that said, why don't we go ahead, pull our bike off so we can have a better look at the rack itself. The way that you're going to adjust these frame hooks is super simple. There's going to be a button there that you can push, and that will allow you to move it up and down. When you do that though, make sure you have a grip on your bike because, you know, once you release the pressure there, the bike can move around. And there's a couple ways you can take it off. Some people like to just raise this up and then kind of sneak the bike out from behind it. What I like to do is just take this off completely, and it just, you know, gets everything out of the way. So go ahead, pull this off, and now you're ready to go hit the trails. Something that you do need to think about, you know, whenever you put the rack on the back of your Subaru, it is going to extend the overall length of it, you know, and so it's something to keep in the back of your head whenever you're pulling into maybe a small garage or a tight parking spot, for example. So to figure out exactly how much, if that's something you're concerned about, we'll just go from our license plate. Looks like the furthest point on the rack is going to be this frame hook here. That's going to add about 26 inches to the back of your Subaru. So honestly, doesn't really take up a whole lot of space. I think you'd be in pretty good shape even if you did have a small garage or pull into that tight spot. With that said, let's go ahead and check out a few other things. One thing that is pretty cool is the fact that these wheel hooks, they're actually adjustable. And so if you loosen these up, you know, you can extend it or bring them closer together. So it can work with a lot of different types of bikes, you know, children's bikes, women's bikes, men's bikes, whatever you got, chances are pretty good. This is going to hold it down and get you to where you're going. And one of the big questions that we do get asked a lot is if you're going to be able to get into the back of your Subaru, right, whenever you have the rack on it. And clearly looking at it how it is right now, probably not going to happen. But the good news is the center portion does fold down out of the way. It'll free up that space. All you're going to have to do, come to this center pin there and pop that out. You can swing this down either which way, really. It's up to you. And you can drive around with it like this too, which is what I would probably do, especially if I was in and out of my car, the back of my car lot. Put that pin back in. And with it like that, you know, you're going to be able to open up the back of your Subaru and get whatever you might need in and out. And since it doesn't really take up a whole lot of space either, you know, you can actually kind of reach in there and try to get something a little bit further up too. So it works out pretty well actually. So this thing can actually be stored in another way too, which is pretty neat actually. It's called the suitcase type position. And we'll go through that now and it'll make sense to you, that term. To do that, you know, we're gonna just fold this one back upright. And then these side pieces will actually fold up too. So you can swing that on up. Pull this pin out, swing this one on up. And now it keeps it nice and compact. You know, it's pretty clean actually. Honestly, if I were to keep this on the back of my Subaru for a little while, I would probably personally keep it like this. I think it looks pretty cool. But more importantly, you know, especially being a Subaru, changes are pretty good. You guys may have some other accessories that you use and things like that. And if that's the case, you know, this thing stores really well. So if you're done using it, you can fold this thing up like this, pull it out, and it's not going to take up hardly any space. You know, you can put this in the corner of your garage. You know, this will fit on a shelf or keep it under your carport, whatever the case may be. You know, you're not going to have to worry about a gigantic platform rack taking up a bunch of your room. Moving on down here, this rack is going to work with those 2" by 2" receiver tube openings like we have here today on our Subaru, but it also has the ability to work with the smaller 1¼ by 1¼ hitches. So you get some versatility there. It is going to have a raised shank, so where it plugs into the hitch, working out towards the end, it comes up a few inches, you know, and that's nice, gives you some extra ground clearance. And it's also going to come included with an anti-rattle bolt. All right, and what this is going to do when you tighten this down, it's going to eliminate any slop or play there in the connection point. So it's not going to be bouncing around in the hitch. All right, so to kind of give you an example of that, let's say if we're driving down the road, hitting some bumps, you can see that the rack is going to move with our Subaru and not on its own. So at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be a good way to carry around a couple of bikes, whether you ride quite often or every now and again. And if you're anything like me, you always want to see the product you're interested in actually working or in action. So why don't we go ahead, load this up with some bikes, take it out on the test course and see how it performs.
Here it is on our test course. We'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Next, we're at the alternating speed bumps, which we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving over uneven pavement. And finally, we have the full speed bumps, where we'll see the up and down action, which is just like driving out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway.
And that'll finish up our look at of the Swagman XC2 platform style bike rack on our 2018 Subaru Outback Wagon.